I, Vice Chair John Flegel, call the hybrid electrical and elevator board meeting of July 27th, 2023 to order at 9:31. Debbie, will you please take the roll?
Yes, sir. Chairing the meeting this morning is John Flegel, who is the Vice Chair. He is in the room. John?
Present.
And our chair is connected through Zoom. Thomas Kyle?
Present.
Thank you, Tom. And William Barlow? I'm sorry, William Barlow? Elizabeth Bunga? Sara Young is in the room. Sara?
Here.
Thank you, Sara. Brian Ladul?
Here.
Thank you, Brian. He's connected through Zoom. Robert Larzalere, connected through Zoom. Robert? I'll come back to Robert. Robert McNeil?
Present.
Thank you. He's connected through Zoom. Ryan Richard is in the room. Ryan?
Here.
Thank you, Ryan. Richard Rudder is connected through Zoom. Richard?
Here.
Thank you. Al Shucker? Al? Frank, our new board member, Frank Sonnabend?
Here.
Thank you, Frank. And he is in the room. Ken Spencer is in the room. Ken?
Here.
Thank you. I'll go back to a few members. Al Shucker? He said he was going to be in the room, so hopefully he'll be attending. William Barlow? Thank you, William. He's connected through Zoom. Elizabeth Bunga?
Here.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Connected through Zoom. And Robert Larzalere? Okay, I'll just note the time when he connects. Mr. Vice Chair, Acting Chair, we do have a quorum.
Item C, 1C. I, Vice Chair Flegel, rule the agenda and order of business approved as published. And 1D. I, Vice Chair Flegel, rule the draft meeting minutes of May 27th, 2023 final. And 1E, date of the next scheduled meeting is September 28th, 2023. And at this time, we'd like to welcome and have Frank Sonnabend introduce himself as our newest member to the Electrical and Elevator Board.
Thank you. As you heard, I'm Frank Sonnabend. So I came from pretty much a family of electricians from my grandfather, my father, my brothers, my uncles. So we all had our own businesses throughout the years, and I started with the IBEW, and I ended up owning my own business on the coast until I became an electrical inspector for the city of Corvallis. I've been with the city of Corvallis now for 8 years as the senior electrical inspector over there, and I hold approximately, I think, 15 licenses with the state of Oregon. So I really appreciate, being on the board here today, and thank you very much.
Welcome. Thank you and welcome. All right, agenda item 2A, electrical program update. Brian?
Good morning. For the record, Brian Christ, Electrical Program Chief. Start my update for you today with the status of the Oregon Electrical Specialty Code. We're still on track to adopt the OESC October 1st. We received some comments from the public hearing on July 18th that we are currently reviewing. The cutoff date to provide written public comment closes tomorrow at 5 o'clock. After that, it moves to final permanent rulemaking process. Due to the number of changes to the NEC and our own Oregon amendments, we're currently working with the training department here at the BCD on the video for the Oregon Inspector Certification Series. The staff at BCD has been great at bringing me up to speed on a number of issues regarding the electrical program. Look forward to working with this great group of people. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Good morning. My name is Jim Imlah, so I do a lot of electrical training. And I'm wondering, when are we going to be able to submit for presentations? Is there going to be any time prior to October 1st for, putting the program together for presentation?
For continuing education?
Continuing education under the 2023 Oregon Electrical Specialty Code.
I think we can submit at that time. We can submit now to have that program added.
I don't know what changes you're going to be considering, and so I want to be very careful here where we start. Is it going to be something maybe, say, submit in August or September or earlier?
Yeah, I was going to say, if you submit, we can take a look at it and get it on the CE process list, or maybe Todd might have more information on that.
Don't mean to kick you out, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, Todd Smith, Paulson Technical Services Manager for the division. I can answer that question for you. So under our rules, you can actually submit for code change classes right now.
Which I have.
Yep, and then we can accept the applications for the code related and the Oregon rule and law changes, but they cannot be taught until October 1 on the effective date. But we will take the submissions and the committee can review them. The question on what the changes will be, at this point in the stage, all of the changes are on the website on our Table 1E.
Right.
And we don't anticipate any changes to that table at this point, but those won't be permanent until the rules go into effect on October 1.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair, that's my program update.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Mr. Keith Anderson.
Yes, sir.
Any update, Keith?
No, Brian got everything updated, what's going on here recently, and he's doing a great job. I'm available, for questions and that, and a resource for the program. So, thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Keith. Moving on to II.B, the elevator program update. We have Warren via Zoom.
I am here. Good morning, everyone. Through the chair, Warren Harton, Chief Elevator Inspector, Statewide Services. Since I last spoke to you, we've had a couple of retirees and a couple of new hires that are in training, keeping my plate full, as always, along with moving forward with code adoption for the new elevator code. Aside of that, you have your sheets in front of you as far as progress and accident reports, and I'm willing to field any questions you may have.
Are there any questions for Warren? Doesn't sound like we have any questions for you today, Warren.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Acting Chair, Robert Larzalere is connected now. I just wanted to announce that.
Thank you, Debbie. Okay, on to II.C, General Overview Enforcement Process, informational. Alana Cox.
I'm Alana Cox, Administrator here at Building Codes, and it's been a while since this board has had just kind of an enforcement overview refresher, and so that's something we were talking about doing after session, and we're post-session now, so here we are, and Should be a good refresher for folks who have served on the board for a while, and a good overview for some of our newer board members who may not have gotten an overview. I missed your last meeting, but I understand that enforcement was a topic of discussion, so I think we've got good timing here. Julia is going to walk you through the enforcement overview, and then your attorney Jake is here from DOJ as well for legal questions and counsel. And I wanted to just note a few things, high level on how we view enforcement at the division. So first, we recognize that we do enforcement on behalf of the board. Like licensing, this is an area where most of the statutes give the authority directly to the board, and then we have tools to act on the board's behalf. So one big part of the division enforcing on behalf of the board is that we need to have a good idea of where you stand. That's why the penalty matrix is such an important tool. It's also why we pay close attention to the feedback you give us about individual cases at board meetings, not just because they're your consent orders to approve, but also because we really want to be in good alignment. So we need to be in alignment with the board, and then we also need to be aligned internally at the division among our different sections, right? So between policy and technical services, licensing, field services, e-permitting, we all need to be on the same page when it comes to who qualifies for a license, what work requires a license, for example, so that we're giving consistent customer service. And for people who are trying to do the right thing, we're not setting them up for getting in trouble. In addition to board and division alignment, the other really important thing in enforcement is process integrity. It's important so we can win our cases, but it's also important so we're being fair and consistent and respondents have all the rights that our system guarantees. So ultimately, enforcement is part of our mission to protect consumers, ensure safe building construction, and it's a responsibility we take really seriously. I'm looking forward to the discussion today, the discussions that will follow, so we make sure we have that good alignment and process integrity that's going to lead to good outcomes and hopefully higher compliance and more safe construction. So with that, I'll turn it over to Julia, but I'll be here if there are any questions for me as we go along today. Thanks.
And Julia?
Thank you, Alana, Chair Kyle, Acting Chair Flegel, and members of the board. My name is Julia Hier, and I am the Enforcement Manager here at the Building Codes Division. Thank you for having me here today to present a general overview of the enforcement section and the work we perform. Debbie, you can go ahead and move to the next slide. So the enforcement team at the Building Codes Division is composed of 10 individuals. Myself, the enforcement manager, we have 3 contested case representatives, 4 investigators, and 2 administrative support staff members as specialists. The enforcement team promotes building safety by ensuring businesses and individuals that work in specific construction trades comply with Oregon Building Code laws. This includes enforcing the licensing laws in our state for the electrical and elevator program, plumbing program, and boiler program, all on the board's behalf. We enforce licensing violations pursuant to the Advisory Board Civil Penalty Matrix, which was adopted by each of the boards on or before March 7, 2017. And you can move to the next slide. That penalty matrix is available in the board packet. It's also available on the website. And next slide, please. And so here's a copy. The penalty matrix is 2 pages. This is the first page. It provides assessed penalties for specific types of violations, and those penalty amounts increase if there's additional violations committed within 5 years of the date of the present violation. The penalty matrix also describes the maximum penalty, which can be stayed in a settlement, and the minimum amount which needs to be due and payable for any particular violation. The conditioning, suspension, and/or revocation of a license, certificate, or similar authority are not part of the penalty matrix, and the board or the division, acting on the board's behalf, may take action against a license, including against first-time violators. Anybody can file a complaint or report an alleged violation regarding a business or individual. And next slide, please. And I'll have you go one more slide. That's the second page of the penalty matrix. So anybody can file a complaint or report an alleged violation regarding a business or individual. We also have the Construction Contractor Board, a CCB, who conducts site checks throughout the state and forwards relevant violations to the Building Codes Division. Complaints are also frequently received from members of the general public, other government agencies, and workers in the trade. We ask complainants to provide the division with any information they may have to assist us in our investigation. That includes a description of any installation, identification of the alleged violator, whether an installation was witnessed, and contact information. The enforcement team holds weekly meetings to discuss complaints as a group, and the technical experts, such as the program chief, are also consulted on cases and are often part of those weekly meetings as well. If a violation appears to be present, complaints are assigned to an investigator. That investigator gathers relevant information regarding the complaint and conducts interviews with parties and with witnesses. Investigators also identify violations while they're in the field, while they're completing site checks as well. And when a violation is identified via a site check, the investigator will have a case open on that matter as well. Ultimately, when the investigation is complete, if there's sufficient evidence of a violation, the case gets forwarded to the program chief and a contested case representative. The contested case representative drafts notices on cases, and that notice ultimately will be served on the respondent, typically via certified mail at their current address. If the notice gets contested, then that begins the contested case process. One incident can result in multiple cases. For example, unlicensed work may result in a notice against the person who performed the unlicensed work, a notice against the company who allowed the unlicensed work, a notice against the individual who allowed the unlicensed work, and in electrical cases, a notice against the signing supervisor. We typically issue related notices at the same time, but these cases may resolve at different periods of time for various reasons. Some of those reasons includes the time it takes to successfully serve the notice, the timeline for appeal, it's 20 or 60 days, depending on the type of order and the type of violations that are imposed, whether the notice becomes final as a matter of default, or if a request for hearing is filed, and then whether the case settles or if it proceeds to hearing. Hearings take place before the Office of Administrative Hearings. The administrative law judge hears testimony presented by the respondent and the division, listens to argument, and reviews the record. The ALJ then issues a proposed order, usually within 45 days from when the record closes. Any party who disagrees with the proposed order may file written exceptions, and the board then has authority to change or reject a proposed order. The board's decision is then subject to appeal before the Oregon Court of Appeals. The enforcement section presents cases to the relevant boards to report on final orders, which includes cases that have become final as a matter of law due to default, to obtain approval on settlement, and to present proposed orders from the administrative law judge for final board approval. The enforcement section is happy to provide information to assist in further review of licensing actions and civil penalties, whether it be in a committee setting or with the board directly at a future meeting. We hope the general overview of enforcement was informative. And then please let us know if you have any questions related to the general overview. And as Alana mentioned, we also have our attorney, Jacob Gill, on hand for legal questions and counsel during the executive session. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
Through the chair, I would just like to make a comment about enforcement. I know that I work hard to keep my license current, and I expect that all our electricians and all that stuff keep their license current too. And so, I look for a robust enforcement policy to be enforced through the state and, keep everybody on the same playing field. And I think enforcement is very important. So I hope you and your staff take that very seriously.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you, Julia.
Thank you.
On to II.D. Ian?
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. This agenda item was brought by Levi Weintz. Mr. Weintz, are you present, and would you like to speak on this agenda item?
Yes.
The floor is yours.
Well, thanks for having me today. I apologize for not being there in person. We had a family vacation that was planned for quite some time. So that is the reason for me being remote today. The main reason I wanted to have the time to speak to you guys is just to be sure that you're aware of the timeline of events with that last citation, in hopes to show you that following the state's rules has always been important to me, and that you take that into consideration when deciding my final penalty. I've worked very hard after the first violation that I received while working for Walcott with their office staff to be sure that properly licensed people are on the job sites within ratio. After much effort was spent, I could see that there was a combination there at Walcott of a lack of competency combined with a lack of concern for following the rules. So in my best interest, I resigned from Walcott on March 21st, which was before I even received the second citation, which has resulted in this hearing. So I just wanted to make sure that that was known, that that I was separating myself from them prior to the second citation, which I received on the 24th. So that's really my main reason for wanting to speak today, in hopes that you can see that that I was looking to get myself away from a situation that was not going to correct itself. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weintz. Does anybody have any questions while he is on? Anybody via Zoom?
This is Brian Ledoux.
Go ahead, Brian.
So it sounds like there are some violations based on your most recent employer.
Yes. Well, yeah. So the first violation was well over a year ago. And like I said, after that, I worked very hard to train the office staff who handles scheduling and permitting, you know, to help them follow the rules with ratio and licensed people. Walcott has people that are licensed in Washington only and Oregon only. And the first violation was that they had scheduled some guys from Washington to work in Oregon, and those individuals went freely, and none of this happened to my knowledge. You know, I had no idea that that was going on, because it was scheduled without my knowledge. And that, like I said, that was the first violation a year or so ago. And since then, I worked very hard to train the office staff, and I could see that things were really never going to right themselves. So I resigned from Walcott on March 21st, not having even known about this second violation, which I received on March 24th. So it's unfortunate, but I guess I didn't separate myself from them soon enough.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you for your time today, Mr. Weintz.
Thank you.
And that should take us into executive session. The Electrical and Elevator Board will now meet in executive session at 9:55. The executive session is held pursuant to ORS 192.660 II.F. for this session, which allows the board to meet in executive session to consider information or records that are exempt from disclosure by law, including written advice from board counsel. Representatives of the news media and designated staff shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience are asked to disconnect from the audio conference board meeting through Zoom and will be asked to leave the conference and leave conference room A. No decision will be made in executive session. At the end of the executive session, the board will return to open session and welcome members, staff, and the public to join the meeting through Zoom, the Zoom platform, for the rest of the board agenda. Concluded executive session will now re-enter public meeting. No decisions were made and no votes were taken outside of public meeting. Debbie, will you please take the roll again?
Yes, sir. Chair Thomas Kyle,
Present.
chairing the meeting this morning, Vice Chair John Flegel,
Present.
William Barlow,
Here.
Elizabeth Bunga,
Here.
Sara Young,
Here.
Brian Ledoux.
Here.
We'll see if Robert Larzalere is connected.
Here.
Thank you. Rob McNeil,
Present.
Brian Richards,
Here.
Richard Rutter,
Here.
Frank Sonnabend,
Here.
Ken Spencer.
Here.
Mr. Acting Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Debbie. We're moving on to item, we can back up a little bit to 2E. We will hear from Kathy Rowell.
Yes, good job. Through the chair, my name is Kathy Rowell. I'm a contested case representative with the Building Codes Division. So this is a consideration of how to proceed with the Levi Weintz matter. So I wanted to give a little bit of background. This memo is in your documents, but on March 22nd, 2023, the division, acting on behalf of the electrical board, issued and served a notice of proposed assessment of civil penalties and proposed suspension of supervising electrician license number 5431S on Mr. Weintz due to violations of OAR 918-282-0140 II.C. and OAR 918-282-0140 II.F. The notice proposed $8,000 in civil penalties and a one-year suspension of the general supervising electrician license, which was the starting point for subsequent negotiation and settlement. Mr. Weintz sent in his request for a hearing on March 28th, but also expressed an interest in settlement. The division, acting on behalf of the board, drafted consent agreement proposing settlement of the case with a 9-month condition of the general signing supervisor license, a $6,500 penalty imposed through lump sum payment and balance of the penalty of $1,500 suspended. And during the board meeting on May 25th, the board reviewed and denied the proposed consent order, and Mr. Weintz asked to speak to the board, which he's now done. So the following are the options currently identified by the division proceeding forward in this case. Number one, advise us to discontinue settlement negotiations and proceed to hearing. Request the division to continue settlement negotiations with Mr. Weintz and return to the board with a future settlement proposal, or propose a settlement offer to us, including the civil penalty, the amount imposed and suspended, length of time to suspend respondent's license, as well as any length of time to condition the license following the suspension period, along with whatever conditions the board would like to see. So basically, the starting point, the high end would be the $8,000 for the civil penalties and 1 year for the suspension, but it could be any amount that the board would like. And we also provided a sample consent order in the packet that shows you where the various amounts of time would go in options.
Through the chair, if this goes, make a motion to the, for a hearing, then it just goes to administrative law judge and it's settled through that process.
It would go to a hearing, and whatever the court ruled, that proposed order would come back to you for approval.
But it's also possible to go back to Mr. Weintz for further negotiation, given input from the board.
Yes.
And the board can recommend more severe, or just up to what's already been proposed.
Yes. So in the notice, it was a 1 year suspension and $8,000 in civil penalty. So that would be the upper limit, because that's what he was noticed of.
But it could be, that's on the top side, could be less than that.
Right.
not quite sure. of the-
Chairs Brian Ledoux. I got a question.
Go ahead, Brian.
If we suspend Mr. Wentz's supervising license, does he have the ability to do any electrical work in order to provide for his family?
Kathy?
My understanding would be that he would not have a license if we suspend his license. I do not believe that Mr. Wentz has a journeyman license at this time. I don't know that for sure, but I don't believe he does.
So his supervising license covers all of his electrical work.
As far as I know, I don't really know what his other options would be if he did not have his supervising license.
Okay. Thank you.
Could we look that up?
I think we could. I think we could look it up. I don't know, Ashley, do you think? Yeah, okay. We'll have Ashley look that up and see, but I don't think he has another license that I know of.
Hey, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Mr. Kyle.
I guess I would make a motion to allow the division to keep negotiating with him to find a resolution that is acceptable to us.
Okay, we
I'd
have,
second that.
we have a motion on the floor for the division to keep negotiating with Mr. Wentz to come to a conclusion. I heard a second, but is there any discussion first?
From my understanding, if he gets a suspended license, he could still be issued a general journeyman's license.
Yes, please.
I'll let Ms. Heir step up.
Thank you, Vice Chair Flegel and members of the board. Julia Hier with the Division Enforcement Manager. I did just look up Mr. Wentz's license, and I only see that it is the general supervising electrician license based on the information on our website, the licensing lookup. And also, as far as if that license is suspended via the notice or if we proceed to hearing, then he would not have another license. There is an option to present settlement. In a settlement, option would be to provide a journeyman license during a period of suspension. That would have to be something that would be done through a consent order through settlement. And so that is an option that the board could consider if it's of interest.
Thank you for the clarification.
And I will mention too, any settlement that is proposed, Mr. Wentz would need to agree to that. So if he did not agree to the settlement, then we would be looking at proceeding to hearing unless we were continuing to negotiate for that.
May I ask, in the meantime, while all of this is going on, is he still able to continue his job as a signing supervisor?
Yes.
We do have a motion on the floor, and it has been seconded. Everybody did hear the proposed motion, or the motion? Understands it?
Does the motion need to include any recommendations for the board from the board to staff regarding what to negotiate on, or are we just saying keep negotiating?
Mr. Kyle, do you want to amend the motion or add to it?
I think that I would like to give the staff the freedom to negotiate after hearing what we have said. I don't want to put conditions on it at this time.
Is there any other discussion?
Through the chair. I just have a quick question. If he's a signing supervisor for that company and his license gets removed, what actions happens to that company then if he's the only signing supervisor?
He withdrew from being signing supervisor from that company. If he is currently a signing supervisor, I'm not he would have to tell them, I would imagine. I don't know what the obligation is there exactly. That answer your question?
Thank you.
Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor, it has been seconded. Debbie, would you like to call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
Aye.
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Ledouel,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rudder,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Vice Chair acting as chair this morning, John Flegel,
Aye.
and Chair Thomas Kyle.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie.
And if I may say, Levi has been trying to log back in and he cannot do that. So he won't be available to talk.
Okay.
So my understanding is that the board has now authorized us to go back and negotiate.
Yes.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
That moves us on to item F, and Kathy Rowell again.
That's, yes, Kathy Rowell, contested case representative. This is a case, this is a proposed order from administrative law judge in the case of Derek Gaston. This was a similar case to what came before the board in May involving Mr. Way, where Mr. Gaston applied for a reciprocal license from the, he had a license in Arkansas and tried to get a reciprocal license here in Oregon. You have a memo in your packet. We went to hearing on the case, and the administrative law judge, Samantha Fair, upheld our denial of his license because he did not have the 1,000 hours of work that was required under our statute to get the reciprocal license. So a copy of the proposed order from the administrative law judges in your packet. And the options here are to go ahead and issue the final order, adopt the administrative law judge's order as the final order of the board, amend the proposed order from Administrative Law Judge Fair and tell us what needs to be altered, or disapprove the proposed order and direct the division to approve the application for the reciprocal general journeyman electrician license for Mr. Gaston.
Thank you, Kathy.
I'd like to make a motion to issue the final order and attach the proposed order written by the administrative law judge as Exhibit A.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? Again, the motion is to issue a final order and attach the proposed order written by the ALJ Fair as Exhibit A. Debbie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
Aye.
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Ledouel,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rudder,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
acting as chair this morning, John Flegel.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank y'all very much.
And moving on to 3G, Kathy again.
Yes, hi. Still Kathy Rowell, contested case representative for the division. We have 7 consent orders for your to go in front of you for approval today. There will be a vote required on all 7 orders today. You have a packet with copies of all the consent orders that have been signed by the respondents in your materials, along with the chart. I'm going to go through these briefly. The first case is C 2021-113 Greenlight Solar LLC, installation of conduit, electrical wiring to a roof, from the combiner panel on the disconnect switch. And the violation was failing to assure that all electrical work is made by or under the direct supervision of a continuously employed full-time signing supervisor acting within the scope of their license. The violation was in July 2021, assessed penalty of $2,000, imposed of $1,000, and suspended of $1,000. The next case, Jimmy Simpson, C 2022-0004. The violations are no supervising or journeyman electrician license, no electrical contractor's license, no permit. May of 2021 was the violation. Assessed $6,000, imposed $1,500, and suspended $4,500. The next two cases are related cases. Touchpoint Networks and Gary Gonzalez, C 2022-178 and C 22-179. Involving the installation of Cat 6 low voltage electrical wiring, and the violation for Touchpoint, the company was allowing unlicensed electrical work, and the violation for Mr. Gonzalez is unlicensed electrical work. For the company, $2,000 assessed, $450 imposed, $1,550 suspended, and for Mr. Gonzalez, $2,000 assessed, $450 imposed, and $1,550 suspended. Then the next case, these next two cases are also related cases. Shannon Lee and Richard Dick Solar, C 2022-139 and 140, involving violations in 2021 and 2022 in Hood River. There were multiple violations, if you have looked at the orders, multiple job sites, multiple violations. For Shannon Lee, the assessed civil penalties are $43,000. The imposed amount is $8,000, suspended $35,000. No previous enforcement history on either of these two respondents. For Mr. Lee, he had also applied for a journeyman electrician's license, which was denied, and he is disqualified in the consent order from obtaining any Oregon electrical license for 15 months, commencing on the date of the application. And then for Richard Solar, assessed $34,000, imposed $15,000, suspended $19,000, 1 year suspension of the general signing supervising electrician license, and disqualified for 6 months from holding any Oregon electrical license. And then after the disqualification period of 6 months, any electrical license would have conditions for up to 6 months. All that's in the order. And then finally, C 2022-0170, Christopher Miller, DBA All Around Your Home Services, allowing unlicensed electrical work, data violation September 2022, assessed $6,000, imposed $900, and suspended $5,100. These do all require a motion, but I'm here available to answer any questions you may have about any of these cases.
Are there any questions for Kathy? Entertain a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the 7 cases proposed for resolution as outlined in the Enforcement Board report and issue final orders.
Okay.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the 7 cases proposed for resolution as outlined in the Enforcement Board report and issue final orders. Debbie, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
I,
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Ladue,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Brian Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rutter,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
acting as Chair John Flegel.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, sir.
And we're on to H, and it's Kathy again.
Finally, this is the one case we have that's a default order or final order. It is C 2022-0091, Todd A. Eccles Electric, allowing unlicensed electrical work out of Portland in June of 2022, and that was a $2,000 penalty. And there's no board, you do not have to vote on this one. It's just defaulted.
Okay.
That's it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
And we are on to number 4, Ian.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. We received 2 requests, one by Sean Murphy and one by James Imlah, to provide general public comment to the Board. Starting with Mr. Murphy, are you present and would you like to provide general public comment to the Board? Unfortunately, Mr. Murphy is not here. Mr. Imlah, are you present and would you like to provide general public comment to the Board?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. The floor is yours.
Good morning. Jim Imlah again. So I'm here again. I'm asking for assistance to the board to see if we can do an updated process or procedure for submitting for CEUs. I do a lot of training for CEUs, continuing education in various states, with a couple other people involved, that we look at the system and we're not quite sure what to submit. I get a call 2 weeks ago that says they want additional information at this hearing, you know, to approve the training courses that I've submitted. We don't have no guidelines. We have no direction of what do you want us to provide. It's not the matter of providing it, but it's the process that goes through it, and it takes approximately 2 months to get course approved. Okay, I'm on a timer. Sorry about that. But, and I hope not to use it all. But I do want to bring it up that it is kind of confusing for us to submit. I look at some of the application forms that we have, and they're very outdated. I'm sorry. And I never know who to talk to. It would be nice if there's just one contact person to go through this and still give staff the opportunity to review these, because maybe I make a mistake and said, well, I'm putting it down for code change or submitted for code change, but I marked down for code related. And what do you mean by code related versus code change? So I'm just asking for some help, some clarification with the process so that we can move ahead, because like I said, I just don't see a good direction. You know, can we put it on the back of the application or something on an email so that we as providers know what you want and try to do it right the first time, please? So I'm asking your considerations on that and would be willing to work with staff with my questions and issues. And I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak in front of you. Any questions? Oh, did I do that good? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Vice Chair, Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. That concludes our official signups. However, I would like to take a moment just in case there's anyone online or in the room that would like to also provide general public comment to the Board. Thank you. That concludes general public comment.
Thank you, Ian. And we're on to number 5, communications. And it looks like we have one from Chief Hartung.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee and board, Warren Hartung, Chief Elevator Inspector for the division. We're moving ahead with our code adoption, and we have 2 members of the board willing to be on the committee and have expressed an interest to do so. One owner of an elevator company wishing to be on the committee as well. So thank you to Robert McNeil, Robert Larzalere, and Dustin Thompson, who have volunteered their time to help with this code adoption. I also wish to bring out that I will be heavily involved, and one of my star inspectors, Philip Hart, will be attending the committee meetings with me. I have one other general manager of an elevator company who has expressed an interest but has not signed up for anything yet. So I'm still trying to twist one more arm. We'll see how that goes. But that's where that sits for right now.
Okay. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you.
And moving on to 7A, new business, we are back to Ian.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. The Division requests that the Board consider the Continuing Education Committee's recommendations regarding the new CE course and instructor applications. This continuing education cycle, the committee reviewed 77 applications from 19 organizations. The committee ultimately recommended 43 courses and 18 instructors for approval. The committee also recommended 11 courses and 5 instructors for denial. This agenda item will require a motion, examples of which are also included in your agenda packet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian.
I'd like to make a motion for approval of the committee's recommendations for approval or denial of courses or instructors.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion that's been seconded. Is there any discussion? Debbie, would you please take the roll?
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
I,
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Leduc,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rudder,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
acting as chair this morning, John Flegel.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Takes us to 7B, and Ian again.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. This agenda item is a retroactive CE credit request from the IEC. This course was approved by the CE Committee last cycle and the Board this cycle just now a moment ago. This agenda item will require a motion, examples of which are included in your agenda packet. The request letter is also included. Thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the retroactive request received from IEC to give credits to class participants.
I'll second.
And we have a motion and a second on the floor to approve the retroactive request received from IEC to give credit to class participants. Is there any discussion? And Debbie, you please take the roll.
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
I,
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Leduc,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rudder,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
acting as chair this morning, John Flegel.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie. And that brings us on, looks like, let's see. No C, okay. It takes us on to D and Ian again, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Ian Paik, Analyst with the Division. This agenda item is a retroactive CE credit request from Blu PHX. This course was approved by the committee and the board this cycle. This agenda item will require a motion, examples of which are also included in your agenda packet. The request letter is also included. Thank you.
Through the chair, I'd like to make a motion to disapprove this request received from Blu PHX and to give credit to class participants based on their application. The date was for July 23rd, 2022. So even if it was the wrong year and it was 23, it would have been on Sunday, and the class was taught on May 3rd. So I think they have the wrong date on here.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to disapprove the request.
I'll second the motion.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion? And Debbie, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. William Barlow,
Aye.
Elizabeth Bunga,
I,
Sara Young,
Aye.
Brian Leduc,
Aye.
Robert Larzalere,
Aye.
Rob McNeil,
Aye.
Ryan Richards,
Aye.
Richard Rudder,
Aye.
Ken Spencer,
Aye.
Frank Sonnabend,
Aye.
Chair Thomas Kyle,
Aye.
acting as chair this morning, John Flegel.
Aye.
Mr. Acting Chair, the motion to dismiss is approved unanimously.
Thank you, Debbie. And we're on to item 8, any announcements that any board member would like to make? Everybody good? Zoom? Okay. There being no further business, the July 27th, 2023 Electrical Elevator Board meeting is adjourned at 11:10. Thank you, everybody.